Part 74. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 731. Due to the various rules and political struggles within the Hunter Association, Chider cannot personally help Netero. She herself is not good at force. With the vice president interfering in many ways, Chider cannot even use her own power in the association to assist the president. Only forces that do not belong to the association can be used. However, this part of the power is basically used in NGL. For the time being, she has no fighting power to show. However, Xiaoming is an existence that is not restricted by the Hunter Association. Chider played this card unceremoniously. As for the strict order issued by the president before, she doesn't care. The world is big, but it is not as important as the president's life. Of course, she is now a 3-star hunter with strong strength. Even if the president is unhappy with her interference, it is difficult to do anything to her. According to the news that Chider learned, the Ant King and his 3 guards occupied the capital of the East Godu Republic. The East Godu Republic has a feature that prohibits citizens from using mobile phones and other communication tools, which is very suitable for the development of chimera ants here. They turned the head of the country, the commander-in-chief, into a puppet. At the same time, 5 million citizens were screened. It is unknown who among the 3 guards is capable of this. About 1% of them will be turned into chimera ant soldiers. These 50,000 soldiers are the foundation for the Ant King to rule the world. For this purpose, they convened a national assembly in the name of the commander-in-chief and ordered all citizens to gather in the capital. The time is about 10 days later. Corrado, the division commander of the Surrender Hunter Association, once evaluated the strength of President Netero from the perspective of momentum. His evaluation is that before Netero approaches the Ant King, he will be killed by the 3 guards. For this reason, the president himself is in seclusion to restore his strength in order to defeat the Ant King. He also asked old friends to help. In addition, 6 hunters were arranged to lead the 3 guards away in pairs. Create a one-on-one opportunity for himself and the Ant King. Among them are Xiaja and Kilua, who vowed to avenge Kate, the president's assistants Moruo and Nobu, and Moruo's apprentices, Nikolu and Xiaochuo. But before the final battle, they still need to deal with many chimera ants working for the Ant King. And think of a way to contain the 3 guards. If there is no special situation, at least one of the 3 guards must follow the Ant King closely. Once the Ant King is in danger, all the guards will rush to the Ant King to protect him. If the hunter who takes action is not strong enough, he will be killed by the guards in less than 2 minutes. Then no one can be contained at all. In Chider's opinion, this task is almost impossible to complete. The gap in strength is quite large. And Netero, who is fighting against the Ant King, is likely to die with the Ant King. So she introduced Xiaoming as a variable, which was also a helpless move. Xiaoming is also quite afraid of the 3 guards of the Ant King. Each of them has A-level strength, no less than Zhang Zhong at home. If it weren't for Zhang Zhong's recovery due to special reasons, Xiaoming would not dare to go to the chimera ants in a big way. Now if we calculate, A-level Zhang Zhong can definitely hold one back, not to mention whether he can defeat a guard. If he can exert his strength to the fullest, he can probably hold 1 or 2 guards back. This confidence comes from the additional ability of the Mangekyo Sherinan, Suzanu. The essence of Suzanu is a materialized chakra. The huge chakra forms a human shape and surrounds the caster, and most attacks are ineffective against it. But using it too much will lead to side effects. It is both the guardian god of the caster and the god of death that devours the caster's vitality. Only when the eternal Mangekyo Sherinan is opened can it not be affected. Therefore, Suzanu is a powerful double-edged sword. But Xiaoming has source energy as a backing, so he has a constant supply of chakra. No need to consume vitality. Although Xiaoming's Sherinan is not yet at the state of the eternal Mangekyo, he will not backfire when he uses Susanoo. Unfortunately, Xiaoming has only mastered the second form of this ability. The human form of Susanoo only has the skeleton, meridians, flesh and blood of the upper body, which is wrapped in a chakra coat. The defense is quite good. And it also has a dedicated chakra weapon. The Susanoo used by Xiaoming's body is also very characteristic of his own weapon, which is a set of Claude 6 style combination swords. In this state, although Xiaoming still can't beat an A-level guard, the opponent can't beat Xiaoming. Unless it is an offensive A-level master with very strong offensive ability. Otherwise, Xiaoming can only consume him alive. Of course, if the other person wants to run, Xiaoming may not be able to stop him. Another way to fight against A-level masters is moon reading. However, Xiaoming must be cautious when using this ability. Once the target's mental power is too high, the moon reading will have problems, and it may even hurt itself in turn. And it is difficult to recover from the damage to the spirit. Even if there is no problem after using it 10, 100, or 1,000 times, as long as there is a problem for the 1,000th time, it is unbearable. So Xiaoming will only use Tsukuyomi when he is sure it is safe. Facing the three guards directly under the Ant King, he really doesn't dare to use it. Now calculate, I can at least contain 2 guards, which should be enough for this Chimera Ant crusade. The actual situation is not like this, I will talk about it in detail later. There are many Chimera Ant soldiers in the Dongguodo Republic, from division commanders to ordinary soldiers, all over the Republic. These guys will cause a lot of trouble to hunters like Xiaoja, so that they can't concentrate on dealing with the 3 guards. They are numerous and powerful, and they may even cause a hunter to capsize in the gutter. It would be a shame to die in their hands. It just so happens that dealing with these guys who win by numbers is exactly Xiaoming's strength. As long as the 3 guards don't leave the Ant King, there is no Chimera Ant that Zhang Zhon can't deal with in the periphery. If one of the guards can be lured out, it would be even better. And they can be defeated one by one. For a while, Xiaoming's men were all boiling. Among the entire army, the largest number is the combination of mushrooms and zombies and plants. This time the enemy is strong enough and needs a lot of cannon fodder. And the props from the Plants vs Zombies system are the cheapest cannon fodder. Others such as Mind Beasts, Shadow Clones, King Guards, Transformers, Little Red 100 Ghosts, etc. all appeared. On the way, they encountered a large number of human remains killed by Chimera Ants. Xiaoming used Death Harvest to summon a large number of skeleton soldiers. And in places where materials are relatively abundant, he used Z-series puppetry to create a large number of low-level puppet soldiers. The troops were divided into several routes and moved forward like a tide. They headed straight for the capital of Dongguochuo. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 732. In the territory of the Republic of East Godu, on a mountaintop, 2 children were holding binoculars and watching what was happening in the village below the mountain, whispering to each other. "It's amazing. Killua, have your grandfather and brother seen the situation below?" the black-haired child asked the silver-haired child. "How is it possible? My grandfather probably hasn't seen such a weird scene," Killua answered Xiaoja unhappily. "It looks like they are on our side. Is this the reinforcement that Lao and the others mentioned? You see, they only knocked out the citizens. No one was killed. Yes, if it is reinforcement, it is really amazing. This cannot be done by a hunter," Killua pointed. "The types of mind beasts are completely different. At least 5 types of mind beasts appeared. This must be a very strong hunter team. Yeah, those citizens who were transferred away should be safe. We just need to think about how to defeat Neferpatu. Look, so amazing." Similar conversations also happened between Lao and Nobu, and the 2 groups of hunters Nikolu and Chiutuo. To be honest, most of Xiaoming's army does not look like good people. Shadow clones are relatively normal. The aliens look particularly ferocious. The skeleton soldiers and the 100 ghosts are even less like good people. Fortunately, there is the Beast Girl series to raise the overall appearance. If this were a fairy world, it would probably be killed by the ascetics at will. Fortunately, these three groups of hunters were not impulsive and did not clash with Xiao Ming's army at the beginning. As long as they calmed down and observed for a while, they soon found that these guys were friendly forces. Because Xiao Ming's army only attacked the Chimera ants. The long range is the artillery fire of plants and mushrooms on the zombies. Ordinary zombies are not strong enough, so Xiao Ming only exchanged a few for experiments. The most common zombies in the team are iron barrel zombies, which are particularly durable and have high vitality and defense. They are very suitable for growing mushrooms. Generally, 5-8 mushrooms can be planted. Most of them are sun mushrooms. They provide energy, spiritual power, for the entire group. There are also 1-2 combat mushrooms. The size of the big spray mushroom is too large to be planted on the zombie. So it is usually a timid mushroom. When there are 2 combat mushrooms, a small spray mushroom will be paired. In addition, the iron barrel on the zombie's head is facing up. It is just right to install a flower disc, and an aggressive plant can be planted in the flower disc. Xiao Ming mostly grows corn pitchers and ice shooters. Both have the ability to slow down the enemy. The number is still very scary. Xiao Ming has accumulated more than 2,000 zombies so far. Since he is facing a large-scale battle now, Xiao Ming has started to expand his purchases. Only by buying more can you unlock more plant props. And it is not just them that provide long-range firepower coverage in the Legion. There are also skeleton archers, snake female beasts, transformers, etc. In addition, there is a new and most powerful long-range firepower player, the tree demon Xiaolu. When facing the battlefield, the 7 Yao Shadow clones wearing butler uniforms will open the door to Guangmingding. Xiaolu's body is too big, and it is impossible for her to come out with her whole body. She can only stretch out a few long vines. There are hundreds of various plant cannons growing on the vines. They can launch overwhelming firepower strikes. One tree demon can withstand the firepower of a company. Because they come from the plants versus zombies system. So the attacks of these plants are very effective against zombies, but against chimera ants, the killing effect is discounted. But the advantage is that there are many of them, and the defense of chimera ant soldiers can't stand the rain of ammunition. Even if some tough chimera ants rushed up against the long-range firepower. Before fighting the zombies, they had to break through the obstruction of the skeleton soldiers and puppets. In a one-on-one situation, the skeleton soldiers and puppets could not beat the chimera ants, but they could find a way to entangle them. There were enough miscellaneous soldiers on our side. No matter how many arms and legs the chimera ants had, there would always be more skeleton soldiers and puppet wooden men to entangle them. Then it was not the plants and zombies who came to finish off the chimera ants, but the more powerful existences in the Legion. The King's Guards, the Orc Mother Beast, the Shadow Clone, the Little Red 100 Ghosts, the Alien King Kong series, the Transformers. There were more wolves than meat, so it depended on who had the quickest hands at this time. Occasionally, we would encounter chimera ant masters, such as guys at the level of division commander. But they could not beat the joint attack of more than a dozen 7 stars Shadow Clone who summoned Susanoo. Zhang Zhong rarely took action. Xiao Ming, who was with him, had never personally fought in hand-to-hand combat. In the original novel, it was the chimera ants that caused great trouble to the hunters of the expedition team by relying on their numerical advantage. Now it is Xiao Ming's army that relies on their numerical advantage to overwhelm the chimera ant army. Because there are too many of them, Xiao Ming divided the army into several routes to try to cover more areas and rescue more people. The people who really caused trouble for Xiao Ming's army were the people of Dongguochuo. These people have never seen monsters, so they only trust their commander-in-chief. And the commander-in-chief has long been controlled by the Ant King's guards. Besides, Xiao Ming's subordinates are all strange and they don't look like good people, so they naturally can't get the trust of the people of Dongguochuo. Xiao Ming didn't want to spend more time explaining. He knocked out all the humans he saw along the way and then transported them to NGL through Guangmingding. Just ensure their temporary safety. The Hunter Association will arrange people to explain. After the Ant King is dealt with, they can be sent back naturally. Anyway, NGL and Dongguodo are not far away, and they can be back quickly by train. Kijaor invited Xiao Ming to help. He did not tell the president about this, but told Mo Lao and Nobu to prevent them from fighting with Xiao Ming. The result was far beyond Kijaor's expectations. She had never expected that Xiao Ming would have such strategic capabilities. It can be said that the task was completed twice. Due to the activeness of Xiao Ming's army, it caused enough chaos. Neferpitu, one of the three major guards, had to use most of her energy and almost all of the Chimera ants to deal with Xiao Ming's harassment operations. In order to have a chance to lead them away, at the beginning, Xiao Ming's troops only harassed outside the capital. They did not go deep into the capital of Dongguodo. While the other hunters were amazed by this, they did not need to take too many risks. Xiao Ming has done a good enough job in saving the people. They are all working hard to prepare to deal with the three major guards. The chameleon Mirian, who wanted to defeat the Ant King, did not dare to appear in front of Xiao Ming's team. Instead, he found Xiao Ji and others, and soon successfully joined the expedition team. Another octopus Akarigo, who was moved by Killua in the original work and also joined the expedition team, had a very different fate. He did not meet Killua, who changed his fate, but appeared on the battlefield fighting against Xiao Ming's army. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 733. Fortunately, Octopus Akarigo was just a sniper. After the melee troops of the Chimera ants were defeated, he fled with injuries. He never appeared in Xiao Ming's sight again. Faced with the combat effectiveness shown by Xiao Ming's army, the three guards were all troubled. The most troublesome thing was the powerful long-range ability of Xiao Ming's army. The opponent's number was so large and the firepower was so dense that the Chimera ant colony fell into a disadvantage. This level of firepower could not even scratch the fur of the Ant King and the three guards. It was almost ineffective for most division commanders. However, the captains and soldiers who were the backbone of the ant colony could not resist such powerful firepower at all. The three guards judged that there might be masters who could fight alone behind this army. It seems that they underestimated humans. Alas, how to say it, Xiao Ming can't be completely regarded as a human. To be honest, the three guards wanted to suggest that the Ant King change his place of development. If I can't stay here, I will stay somewhere else. However, what a proud existence the Ant King is. How could they possibly avoid the enemies who came to challenge them? They could never say these words to the Ant King. Therefore, the Ant King was completely unaware of the Chimera ants' poor development, and continued to play chess with chess masters in the country, just like in the original book. Neferpitu had no choice but to do his best to deal with Xiao Ming's army. Try to delay for a while longer. The Chimera ant eggs they kept in the palace are now not as many as the 5,000 in the original book. After Xiao Ming's mess, even 1,000 are barely enough. They plan to delay for a while longer. They can accumulate more Chimera ant eggs and hatch more Chimera ant soldiers, and then they can go to war with Xiao Ming's army completely. By then, even the Ant King and the three guards may appear on the battlefield. The three guards are still confident. With them, the safety of the Ant King will be foolproof. Since this enemy is not something that the Chimera ants can deal with, the king should lead everyone to defeat the enemy. This is the king's mission. In order to defeat the Ant King, the members of the expedition team made various preparations in the capital while contacting Xiao Ming's army. A battle plan was agreed upon. Many battles between the expedition team members and the Chimera ants in the original novel did not happen, because the Chimera ants either died at Xiao Ming's hands or were dormant, preparing to organize a large army to fight Xiao Ming's army in the future. No matter how many changes there are in the plot outside the palace, the love story between the Ant King and Xiaomei in the palace is still staged as usual. This is not a bloody plot like a Korean drama, but the most beautiful picture in the entire Chimera Ant chapter. The high and mighty Ant King actually fell in love with a little girl who was ugly, blind, sloppy, and had 2 snotty noses. She could not play anything except the chess game of military ceremony. But she conquered the Ant King with military ceremony. No matter how powerful the Ant King was or what strategy he used, he could not win a game of military ceremony under this sloppy little girl. In Xiaomei, the Ant King felt that even the weakest life may have another strong side. A side worth living. For this reason, the Ant King no longer regards force as the only criterion for measuring the value of life, and even changed his original idea of regarding humans as livestock, recognizing that humans have the value of survival. He only wants to eliminate the unfairness in human society. As a Chimera ant, this is such a magical idea. If he had the opportunity to communicate with Xiao Ming frankly, Xiao Ming might be convinced by him. That would be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, things did not develop in this way. Besides, with Xiao Ming's cowardly personality, he would never face such a strong enemy as the Ant King unless it was absolutely necessary. At midnight on the day of the decisive battle. According to the agreement, it was Xiao Ming's army that fired the first shot. Before this day, Xiao Ming's troops were actually quite far away from the capital of Dongguochuo. The Chimera ants mistakenly believed that the decisive battle would not happen in the near future. Just when they relaxed their defenses a little, Xiao Ming opened the wormhole several times and sent several waves of troops into the capital in a short period of time. At the same time, Death Harvest was used on the capital city where many people had died recently. So there were thousands of skeleton soldiers in the capital city in an instant, and then a large number of skeleton soldiers, puppets, and mushroom zombies rushed into the city through the wormhole. They fought with the Chimera ants scattered in strategic locations throughout the city, and the puppet soldiers controlled by the Catwoman Neferpitou. In an instant, the artillery fire enveloped the entire city, countless corpses flew across, countless houses collapsed, and it seemed to be a mess. In terms of momentum, Xiao Ming's side seemed to be more fierce. In terms of strength, the Chimera ant side had the upper hand. There were 3 major guards here, so Xiao Ming sent over cannon fodder, and then the stronger troops. The king's guards, the beast girl, the shadow clones, and 37 lights shadow clones. These can be lost and are considered higher level cannon fodder. Xiao Ming did not send any of the other subordinates with independent souls. None of them can survive under the hands of the 3 guards. Xiao Ming is reluctant to do so. Although Zhang Zhong is very strong, it is not the time for him to go out yet. For a while, the city was in chaos. Even the division commanders of the Chimera ants were in a tough battle. Xiao Ming had too many cannon fodders. More than a dozen of the 7-star shadow clones used Susanoo, which was a terrifying combat power. The puppet soldiers controlled by Neferpitou were wiped out in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, she was well equipped and easily sent out more puppet soldiers. All her energy was spent on fighting Xiao Ming's army. At the same time, she had to leave her original place to clean up those Susanoo. In her opinion, it would only take a few minutes to get things done. Who knew that after Xiao Ming's army invaded, within 3 minutes, a dragon suddenly appeared in the sky. It was the giant dragon of the Mind Beast released by Killua's grandfather, Zeno Zaldik, in the Zaldik family. On the dragon's back were Zeno Zaldik and President Netero. When it flew to the middle of the palace, the dragon split and turned into countless arrows of light that fell towards the entire palace. It was Zeno's ultimate move, Dragon Star Cluster. At this time, Amolawa, Nakuru, Shoto, Zyuja, Killua, and Mere One riding on Nakuru's back suddenly appeared inside the palace. They met the guard Yubi, who was guarding the stairs head-on, and the battle was about to break out. The Catwoman Neferpitou, who had already attacked, had just defeated a Susanoo and had no time to return. The Butterfly Man Aliapafu, who was guarding the outer perimeter of the palace, immediately flew up. As a result, he was slapped by the falling President Netero and flew far away. Originally, the Catwoman should have been slapped away, but she relied on her own ability to stay in the air and quickly return to the battle group. The Butterfly Man did not have this ability. It would take a little longer for him to return. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 734. Dragon Star Cluster fell from the sky like countless meteors. However, the masters of both sides reacted quickly and none of them were hit. The low-level ones were not so good. 2 Chimera Ant soldiers patrolling the palace were killed and one was injured. A tree in the yard full of dozens of Chimera Ant cocoons was knocked down. Those large cocoons transformed from humans all fell to the ground, and 3 or 5 of them were crushed by the tree trunks. The Chimera Ants inside had not yet fully developed and died on the spot. The other cocoons were still intact. The most dramatic scene was played out as in the original work. Xiaomei, who was having a military ceremony with the Ant King, was hit by a telekinetic meteor. She was a weak little woman, how could she bear this? She was seriously injured and almost died on the spot. The Ant King sitting opposite her was stunned. His mind was a mess, and he couldn't figure out what he should do if Xiaomei died. To this day, although he doesn't understand that his feelings for Xiaomei are true love, he also knows that he can't live without this woman. The Ant King fell into deep self-blame. With his fighting power, it was too easy to help Xiaomei block this blow. A human master would generally want it. However, the Ant King is not a human, he is a Chimera Ant that was not born long ago. The strength is unparalleled in the world. In his thinking mode, there was never the concept of blocking a gun for others. How could the king who rules the world do such a boring thing? So, when the dragon stars descended, he instinctively did not react. The result was that Wheat was seriously injured and on the verge of death. This was a devastating blow to the Ant King. So much so that he didn't react at all when Zeno Pandemoniac and President Netero walked into the room. Although it was Genio who injured Wheat, the Ant King did not have the habit of expressing anger like humans. At this time, he will not put the responsibility on Genio. In fact, it doesn't matter who is responsible. He only cares about the life and death of Xiaomei. The next second, Neferpitou jumped into the room from the window. She was not too far away from the palace this time. In the past, according to the order of the Ant King, her circle could not cover the palace. Now she could not care so much. Her circle quickly covered the entire palace, and immediately found the current location of the Ant King, who was in the reception room on the second floor of the West Tower with Xiaomei. And 2 powerful assassins were heading there. When she found that the king was in danger, she had not run far, and it was easier for people to exert force on the ground. Neferpitou quickly concentrated his telekinesis on his legs and feet, and a sprint was even faster than the skills of instant step and shaving. She jumped into the window of the reception room at the fastest speed and saw a scene that shocked her. The Ant King, a high and mighty existence, actually looked at the seriously injured girl in his arms with extremely gentle eyes. "Is this still my king?" The Catwoman was also a little confused. At the same time, the 2 assassins had arrived, but they did not make any assassination moves. They showed enough respect. The Ant King returned to his previous expression, "Heal Xiaomei, please." After saying that, The Ant King turned around and left with 2 assassins. Go to a place farther away from the palace to fight, so as not to affect Catwoman's healing. Catwoman knew the importance of Xiaomei to the Ant King, and immediately activated her special ability of the Mind System, Toy Repairer. This ability can heal Xiaomei's fatal injuries. When he first practiced this ability, Neferpitou was just to heal Kate, who was cut into pieces by her. Unexpectedly, Kate was already dead and her soul was gone. As a result, Kate's body could only be repaired into a puppet to play with. And the repaired puppet can be controlled by bit. So all along, the puppets fighting Xiao Ming's army actually came from Catwoman. Xiaomei's advantage is that she is not dead yet. If she is treated now, she can completely recover her health. It's just that when using the ability of the Toy Repairer, Catwoman must be completely focused. The circle cannot be emitted and the puppet can no longer be controlled. The plot in this room has been developing in the same way as the original work so far. The real change is other places. As one of the members of the Chimera Ant Suppression Team, Nob's ability is called Fourth Dimension Apartment. It is an ability to create space. It is suspected to be a materialization type. This ability is somewhat similar to Xiao Ming's Bright Summit. However, Xiao Ming's Bright Summit is guarded by a uniform butler, the Mind Beast. The entrance and exit can move with the Mind Beast butler. The exits of Nob's 4-dimension apartment are all opened at fixed locations and must be set by Nob himself. They can only be cancelled, but not moved. Before the final battle, Nob ventured into the palace and set an exit at the stairs between the first and second floors of the palace. In this process, Nob felt the circle of Al Yapfu, one of the 3 guards, at close range. As a result, his body and mind were severely stimulated, and his mind was a little abnormal. At present, he can no longer participate in the direct battle with the Chimera Ant. During the final battle, Amolawa, Xiaja, Killua, Nicolo, Xiaochuo, and Merlion rushed out of this exit. Merlion is a Chimera Ant with chameleon genes. His special telepathic abilities are God's Alibi and God's Accomplice. God's Alibi is an extremely strong stealth ability. Mere one needs to hold his breath when activating the ability. At this time, not only can no one see him, but even if you touch him, you won't feel anything. It is true invisibility. Its effect is even better than Xiao Ming's stealth suit. God's Accomplice is an extended application of the invisibility ability, which can make another person that Miriam touches invisible at the same time. Because the Chimera Ant, the reincarnation of Miriam's benefactor, was killed by the Ant King at will. So Miriam wanted to take revenge on the Chimera Ant King. But his own combat power was too low and he did not have a strong attack ability. Even if he approached the Ant King in invisibility, he could not do anything. So he needed another person with strong attack power to help. For this reason, he joined the Crusade team. And the most suitable person in the Crusade team was Nakuru. The mind ability that Nakuru practiced is called The Sky Does Not Know That I Am the Only One Who Suffers. When you hit the enemy, you can lend your mind power to the other party. It becomes a usury with compound interest, and the interest increases by 10% every 10 seconds. Calculated by the special mind beast Fat Doll Poctlin, Poctlin will always appear next to the enemy. It will not be hurt by any attack. If you hit the enemy again, the debt will increase, and if the opponent hits Nakuru, it will be considered as paying off the debt. The effect of the ability will end only when all the debts are paid off. Poctlin will also disappear automatically. As long as the loan period is within the period, the enemy and our attack and defense will not cause or receive damage, and all will be calculated in the form of loan repayment. When the enemy's loan amount exceeds his own mind power, the enemy will go bankrupt, and the mind beast debt collector will appear, forcing the opponent to enter the absolute state for 30 days. At that time, the enemy will be a lamb to be slaughtered. This is a very perverted ability. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 735. Yuppie was startled by several guys who suddenly came out of nowhere. Of course, he couldn't see Nicolo and Malian, who were in a state of invisibility. As the only one of the three guards who did not mix human genes, but mixed Warcraft genes, Yuppie's mind is indeed not as bright as the other two guards. A bit stupid and naive. However, he is also the one with the least distractions among the three guards. In an instant, he realized that this person was an enemy. If you don't take the road to heaven, there will be no door for you to break into hell. Then just keep them all. Yuppie has the ability to change his own form. In an instant, 4 new arms grew on his back, ready to fight in a 6-armed posture. He actually has the same hobbies as Xiaoming, but Xiaoming is usually 2 heads taller than him. At this moment, the dragon stars gathered in the sky. There were many craters on this narrow battlefield. At this moment, the unexpected attack shocked everyone. Killua recognized his grandfather's trick at a glance, and his mind couldn't help but become suspicious. Only Xiaoja rushed towards Yuppie first. Xiaoja is worried that the invisible duo has been killed by the dragon stars, so someone must contain Yuppie. Although Yuppie was originally assigned the task of Nicolo and Xiu Tuo. Nicolo may have died, Xiu Tuo was stunned again, so Xiaoja rushed forward immediately and took on the most difficult task. The others quickly understood Xiaoja's thoughts, and they all rushed forward with emotion. Especially Xiu Tuo, who has a somewhat cowardly personality. At that moment, he almost regarded Xiaoja as a symbol of light. Let's just change our name to Xiaoming. Yuppie was simple-minded and didn't care about these things. Since someone rushed up, he was immediately ready to fight. Suddenly, he was punched blindly on the left waist, and the fat baby Poctolin appeared. It turned out that the invisible Nicolo and Malian were fine at all, and they took the opportunity to punch Yuppie hard. The loan sharking model officially began. 4 invisible enemies, unexplained attacks, and mind beasts that appear out of nowhere. Yuppie's mind couldn't turn around at all. In desperation, his mental power exploded, and his body shape changed again. There are many eyes growing on the head and shoulders to observe the enemy's situation. Its huge power of telepathy shocked everyone in the expedition team. Especially Nicolo. With such a terrifying amount of telekinesis, how long will it take for the loan shark to bankrupt him? I saw Yuppie raising his arm high and about to smash it down. Everyone is on alert. However, at this moment, a sudden change occurred, and more than a dozen arrows transformed by telekinesis were shot out, pointing directly at most of Yuppie's eyes and various vital points on his body. These arrows are accurate and precise, and their power cannot be underestimated. There is no need to ask the archer, it is naturally Xiaoming's insect-human bodyguard Zhangzhong. This is a strategy that Xiaoming has planned long ago, flying a kite remotely. When facing the enemy head-on, even Zhangzhong may not be safe, let alone himself. The strength of any of the 3 guards is no less than that of Zhangzhong. Zhangzhong has to concentrate on protecting Xiaoming, so frontal combat is too dangerous. Besides, Xiaoming is not that kind of brave and fearless warrior. So he naturally chose long-range combat, using the classic tactic of archers fighting warriors, flying kites. Originally, Zhangzhong's telekinesis ability was of the release type. The skills he practices are all bow and arrow. Purely comparing offense, defense, and HP, Yuppie is the strongest among the 3 guards. Naturally, he is also above Zhangzhong. But in addition to telekinesis, Zhangzhong also has microcosm and spiritual power. Therefore, his attacks have triple bonuses of telekinesis, microcosm, and spiritual power. Even when flying a kite, its power is extremely powerful and one has to guard against it. Because the 2 parties are not familiar with each other, they dare not confide in each other. Therefore, Xiaoming did not participate in the discussion of the detailed plan of the expedition team. His mission is relatively loose and he can hit anyone. The expedition team will modify its tactics in real time based on Xiao Ming's actions. At this time, Catwoman was too fast and had already moved to the side of the Ant King. It was too late to hit her. Alyapufo had just been slapped by Nitro and flew far away. He couldn't come back for a while, and he was temporarily out of reach. Zhang Zhong had no choice but to take action against Yuppie. Zhang Zhong's circle and Xiao Ming's circle both enveloped the entire palace, and they had a rough judgment on the hunters who appeared in front of Yuppie. It seems like they can't defeat this Yuppie even if they are tied together, right? This tactic seems a bit unreliable. Better help. A dozen sudden telekinesis arrows had different effects. Yuppie was so confused that several of his eyes were shot out. Seeing this scene, everyone in the Crusade team was very happy. Gon and Killua quickly rushed to the second floor, and then even MaleProtagonist rushed to the second floor. Xiao Ming couldn't see the invisible Nicola, and thought they left Yuppie to Xiaochuo to deal with alone. Or is it to force Xiao Ming to help? Xiao Ming is so angry, you guys are so bad at what you do. Xiu Tuo will be beaten to death if he can hold on for at most 1 minute. Is he so popular? In fact, Xiao Ming also heard from Chi Duo that the purpose of the expedition team was to contain the 3 major guards respectively. However, the members of the Crusade team had just come out of the 4th-dimensional apartment, and the only information they knew about the outside world was that Xiao Ming had launched an attack across the city. They didn't know the specific locations of the 3 guards. So we have to find the other 2 guards and contain them. As a last resort, Xiao Ming had to communicate with the members of the expedition team directly. He informed them of the fact that Pufa was blown away and that Catwoman was beside the Ant King as quickly as possible. As for whether they would believe it or not, and what kind of reaction they would have after hearing it, Xiao Ming could not guess, and could only do his best and leave it to fate. Xiaoja and Killua were just slightly stunned. After being told the location of Catwoman, they immediately rushed in that direction. MaleProtagonist obviously believed Xiao Ming's words, and felt that Xiao Ming's ability was enough to contain a guard. Here he regarded Zhang Zhong's arrow as Xiao Ming's ability. So MaleProtagonist shouted, "Pufa will be handed over to you when he comes back." It can be said that the task of containing Pufa was entrusted to Xiao Ming, and then he turned around and joined the battle against Yuppie. By the way, because Xiao Ming had brought a lot of pressure to the Chimera ants before. The expedition team did not send Palm to infiltrate behind the enemy in disguise. Palm is a disciple of Nob and has good abilities. But if she went deep into the palace, she would definitely not have a good ending in front of the 3 guards. Xiao Ming's interference helped her successfully escape, but also lost an opportunity to be strengthened. In the original book, the fact that Palm went deep into the enemy's rear also caused a great mental blow to Nob. He was very haggard. This time Palm did not fall into despair, but it reduced the blow to Nob a little. It would also be easier for him to recover. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 736. Yuppie fell into a very annoying battle mode. There were enemy shadows everywhere around him, but all those he hit were not real people. They were all mind beasts made by MaleProtagonist, Purple Smoke Robot Squadron. MaleProtagonist can maintain about 100 of these mind beasts. The fewer the number, the more precise the control. When the number is large, the control is relatively rough. In the original work, before the decisive battle, MaleProtagonist had been fighting various battles with the Chimera Ant Corps in order to contain the Chimera Ants' screening of the Dongguodo people. As a result, his condition was relatively poor during the decisive battle. The amount of mind power was only about 35% of the best period. Mental and physical fatigue had not been fully recovered. In this state, it was certainly not enough to fight against the 3 strong guards. Amo Lao suffered a lot from Pufu and Yuppie. The current situation is completely different. All the previous containment work was done by Xiao Ming's army. So Amo Lao is in a very good state now. Especially seeing that this strong reinforcement found by the dog Kijao or Yorkshire is so powerful. He was more confident. When a person is happy, he is in high spirits. Amo Lao's state even reached more than 110%, setting a new high. He first blocked the battlefield with smoke, and then made a large number of purple smoke beasts, disguised as himself or his two disciples. They surrounded and beat up Yuppie. This time, Amo Lao's big smoke pot was not taken away by Pufu. As long as his mind power is not empty, he can continue to create purple smoke robot soldiers. The battle fell into a stalemate. Most of the time, it was the beasts and Yuppie fighting in close combat. Amo Lao has strong attack power and can hit Yuppie a few times without warning. Yuppie's ordinary attacks, Amo Lao's physical fitness can completely withstand. At the same time, he created attack opportunities for his disciple Nicola. When the time is right, Nicola will rush up and punch under the cover of Mir Wang's stealth, increasing Yuppie's debt. In this way, the more principle, the faster the interest will compound. Yuppie may go bankrupt as soon as possible. This is their only hope. With Nicolo's physical fitness, he can actually withstand a few hits from Yuppie. But once he is attacked by Yuppie, his debt will be reduced, and the gain will not outweigh the loss. So Nicolo's battle at this time must be based on his own safety as the first premise. The ability of Amo Lao's other disciple Xiaochuo Makomahong is called Dark Hotel. He only has a right arm, and his left arm is cut off from the shoulder. There are also 3 hands controlled by Xiaochuo that can fly in the air. There is also a birdcage-like thing, which is the Dark Hotel. Xiao Ming strongly suspects that this is the ability that Xiaochuo cultivated by abandoning his left arm. The part of the enemy hit by Xiaochuo's hand will be locked in the Dark Hotel. The enemy will only feel that the body part has disappeared, but will not be hurt. The Dark Hotel can be small enough to lock in one eye, large enough to lock in the whole person. When locking someone, you need to cause enough damage to that person, and the other party will shrink and lock him in the hotel. This is also a very useful ability. Under the cover of the purple smoke beast, Xiu Tuo can often steal one of Yuppie's eyes or a few fingers unexpectedly. Unfortunately, Yuppie's characteristic is that he can grow various organs at will. It is comparable to the flower fruit in One Piece. Any organ stolen can grow more again, which makes Xiu Tuo very helpless. Of course, it cannot be said that Xiu Tuo is useless in battle. When his body organs are stolen, the enemy does not feel pain. In the melee, Dean sometimes fails to notice this. This may create a blind spot for other people's attacks. Besides, although Yuppie can grow the corresponding organs again, it is also a big consumption for his body. This is very helpful in battle. Of course, even if Amo Lao and his 3 disciples work together and cooperate tacitly, it is not enough to beat Yuppie. The one who really plays the biggest containment effect is Zhang Zhong. His arrows are light or heavy, far or near, more or less always appear in the most critical places. At the beginning, he shot many eyes of Yuppie blind. One strike can do the work of 10 Xiaochuo. Later, because he was surrounded by dozens of purple smoke beasts, Yuppie grew a dozen tails or whip-like limbs from his body. These whips could kill several beasts with one strike. Zhang Zhong naturally couldn't allow this to happen continuously, so he intervened frantically with arrows. Yuppie's limbs were not strong enough, and Zhang Zhong's slightly stronger arrows could shoot them off. Even if they couldn't be shot off, he could force him to change the trajectory of his attack. The attack fell into the air. Occasionally, Zhang Zhong would send a powerful moon-shooting arrow to hit Yuppie's vital points. It can be said that more than half of Yuppie's energy was used to deal with Zhang Zhong, an opponent of the same level. What Yuppie didn't know was that Xiao Ming had never cooperated with Master Mo Wu and his apprentice, And he didn't have as good skills as Zhang Zhong. So he didn't send shadow clones or beasts into the battle group. But on the periphery of the battlefield, Xiaoming sent a lot of uniform nurse beasts, constantly throwing healing spells to Master Mo Wu and his apprentice. Strengthen their ability to continue fighting. Our combat power has increased by at least 30%. A team with a nanny is different from a team without a nanny. In fact, with Yopi's strength, he can break out of the siege even with Zhang Zhong's long-range restraint. But he can't do that. As a guard, he should have rushed to the king's side immediately, but that would also mean bringing these strange guys to the king's side, posing a threat to the king. Instead of that, it is better to solve these threats here. So he deliberately was surrounded. Of course, he didn't know how perverted the ability "I am the only one who suffers" was, otherwise there would be other reactions. At this time, the Catwoman Neferpitou was following the order of the Ant King and was healing the seriously injured Xiaomei. At this moment, Xiaja and Killua came to this house. The plot still follows the development of the original work. Catwoman cut off her hands and begged Xiaja not to make trouble. Allow her to treat Xiaomei and then let Xiaja deal with it. Xiaja struggled for a long time, and even spoke ill of Killua during the period. Later, he agreed to this request and did not fight with Catwoman immediately at this time. At the same time, Xiaja asked Catwoman to follow him to heal Kate after healing Xiaomei. Catwoman actually knew that Kate had no soul in her body at this time, and her ability could not heal Kate. However, at this juncture, she couldn't tell the truth. Neferpitou agreed first and hurried to heal Xiaomei. At this time, Catwoman felt a very gloomy and terrifying aura from Gon. And she was ready to deal with Gon herself. Killua understood Gon's pain, and did not blame him for his reckless words, but silently took it on. What a good friend. This place no longer needs him. Killua turned and headed for another battlefield. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 737. These things happened within Xiaoming's circle. Xiaoming naturally heard their conversation and could feel Xiaoji's current strange state. He guessed that Xiaoji probably used some very special means to temporarily improve his combat effectiveness, so that he was qualified to fight with the three guards. Otherwise, Xiaoji would not have the strength to threaten Catwoman. In the world of Hunter x Hunter, it is probably a means of exchange such as constraints and oaths. I don't know how strict the restrictions and oaths Xiaoji has made. But Xiaoming knows that he must have paid a huge price. Xiaoming actually has some complaints about Xiaoji's mentality. It's a bit too much to use Killua as a punching bag. But since they are good friends, it's not strange to use each other as a punching bag. According to their conversation, it was probably not long ago that Kate was disabled by Catwoman during the investigation of Chimera ants. Xiaoji and Killua were both present at the time. Xiaoming doesn't know Kate, and has no feelings for him. He doesn't even know who he is. Xiaoji's anger for his friend seems to be nothing wrong. But the struggle between Chimera ants and humans is a racial war for survival space. Each of them serves a different master and has different positions. It is not true that Catwoman has done anything extremely evil. To be honest, Chimera ants have killed many people. The ones who are really bloodthirsty are those below the division commander. The three guards are more homely and guard the king all day long. They have been guarding the queen before the king was born. In fact, they are the existence that kills less people among Chimera ants. Indeed, Neferpitou killed a lot of humans during the selection. Similarly, she was for the racial war, not just for killing. It is different from the nature of human killing of animals. Kate can die on the battlefield of the racial war, which can be regarded as a sacrifice of honor. Xiaja turned this into a personal grudge and paid such a high price, which is actually a bit sorry for Kate. Of course, Xiaoming will not stop him. After all, Xiaoming's position is still on the side of humans. Xiaojia mixed personal feelings in the process of killing chimera ants. Xiaoming will not stop it, at most he will not encourage it. Besides, don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you. If someone did the same thing to Xiaoming's relatives, Xiaoming would bring personal feelings into it. He really has no right to tell Xiaoji what to do. Catwoman was trapped next to Xiaomai, watched by Xiaoji. Yuppie was caught in a melee with master and apprentice Mo Lao and Zhang Zhong. Two of the three guards were already unable to get away. Now the only one who could go to support the Ant King was the butterfly male Yapufu, who was beaten away. Although he flew a long distance, he also kept him away from the chaotic palace. When he sensed the latest position of the Ant King, Pufu quickly flew in that direction. But he was stopped by two masters of the Zaldik family halfway. It was Killua's grandfather and father Zeno and Silva. In theory, after Zeno used the dragon head play painting trick to send the Ant King and President Netero to a distant decisive battle, his mission was completed and he could go home and sleep. However, their appearance was naturally seen by Xiaoming, who was in control of the overall situation. How could such two powerful forces be wasted? Although the battle situation was very tense, Xiaoming immediately sent a 7-star shadow clone in the image of Smith to appear in front of the two. Humph! It turns out that the god of wealth has come. Boy, you are so powerful, why do you always look for us? Zhenyo was a little annoyed. This is no wonder, Xiaoming's strength has been exposed too much at this time. In the past, only 3 clones with weak strength appeared in Kukolu Mountain. Zhenyo could still think that Xiaoming was just good at clones, and his real combat power was not strong. But today in the palace and the capital of Dongguodo, after seeing Xiaoming's army, Zhenyo naturally knew his strength. Thinking of being deceived by Xiaoming for so long, the old man felt a little uncomfortable. However, the Zaldik family is open to do business. Zhenyo still remembers the scene when Smith and other 3 clones threw out a lot of gold. This is a big customer. So when the old man opened his mouth, he still deliberately mentioned the word god of wealth. Just to remind Xiaoming that as long as we give enough gold, we can still do business. Old man, I am not very happy, you can do it? Xiaoming understood immediately, and Smith's clone immediately threw out a pile of gold bricks. And said with a little flattery. Look at what you said, my little skill is not worth mentioning compared with the Zaldik family. Isn't this asking for help from you again? Since the money was enough, Gino's face immediately turned from cloudy to sunny. Hee, you are a sensible kid. We in the Zaldik family only care about money, not people. Tell me, who do you want us to assassinate this time? Suddenly he thought of something and added. Let me make it clear first, the Ant King belongs to old man Netero, I can't interfere. And the 3 guards, our family can't assassinate them. If it's their mission, then forget it. On the other side, Silva Zaldik also joined in the fun and added. And the mission to assassinate the leader of the Phantom Troop, our family won't take it either. That guy, ah. As he said that, he shook his head. This lion-like master suddenly made such a move, which really made people a little uncomfortable. What? After hearing this, Xiaoming was surprised. Xiaoming had heard about the power of the Phantom Troop. But that was also the level of humans, right? No matter how powerful their leader is, he can't be on par with the 3 guards. He actually received such treatment in the Zaldik family, which is really impressive. Could it be that the leader of the Phantom Troop has some unknown secrets? But now is not the time to think about such things. Smith's clone quickly replied, don't worry, these are not the secrets. I just want you two to hold back Al Yapfu, oh, that butterfly man among the guards. Xiaoming used Tsukuyomi to interrogate the Scorpion Queen Zazan, so he naturally knew the names of the 3 guards. These 2 top killers didn't know, so they needed to explain more. Just delay for a while. Don't let him disturb the duel between President Netero and the Ant King. If there is danger, you two can evacuate at any time. I don't think the Butterfly Man will chase you, he still has to protect the Ant King. And I will also assist you. Seeing that the two seemed to be a little hesitant, Xiao Ming added, after the matter is done, the money will be increased according to the time, 10 gold bricks per minute. Deal *2. The father and son answered in unison. Their tone was urgent, fearing that Xiao Ming would regret it. Such generous conditions, safe and guaranteed. If he didn't agree, would he still be considered a member of the Zaldik family? So the dragon-shaped monster that was supposed to carry the two back to Kukolo Mountain instead flew away with a pile of gold. Zeno and Silva joined forces again and stopped Arlyapfo, who was flying to the location of the Ant King. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 738. Pufu is the strongest and smartest assistant among the guards of the Ant King. He has powerful strategic abilities. Scale powder is love spring. Pufu can release a large amount of scale powder, which enters the human body through breathing and has the ability to hypnotize ordinary humans on a large scale. Scale powder can show the flow of chi around the opponent. Pufu can read the opponent's emotional state and analyze the opponent's ability by observing the airflow. There are more than 30 kinds of emotions that can be perceived, which is almost equivalent to mind reading. It is similar to Xiao Ming's condensation. In addition, while analyzing the opponent's ability, Pufu can also guide others to fully develop their own nin abilities. Improving the strength of subordinates is a super useful strategic ability. Xiao Ming was very envious when he heard about it. Unfortunately, this ability is related to Pufu's own intelligence, not the kind of ability that can be learned. After the Chimera Ant Queen was seriously injured and died, the Chimera ants under her command almost all set up their own businesses. A large part of them took the initiative to surrender to the Ant King in order to get Pufu's guidance and gain powerful abilities. While gaining new abilities, they also have to help the three guards. Almost all of the guys who fought against the Chimera Ant expedition team and Xiao Ming's army were these guys. Including the ones who are fighting against Xiao Ming's army near the capital and the palace at this moment, most of them are still these Chimera ants. In fact, this is good. It is convenient for hunters to catch them all in one fell swoop. If the Chimera ants are running all over the world, it will be really difficult to deal with them. Flying, Pufu can decompose his body into countless tiny clones in nanometers, which are used to dodge enemy attacks, monitor enemies, control enemies, etc. The smaller the clones, the weaker the combat power. However, there must be a Pufu body among them, and the body must be at least the size of a bee. This ability allows Pufu to quickly leave the battle and confuse the enemy. He can rush to the Ant King as soon as possible. This ability is very similar to that of a high-level vampire, which can turn itself into countless bats. In comparison, Pufu's ability is still a little better. In addition, the Fly King has an extended ability body structure reorganization. Pufu can rearrange and combine the cells of his clones to generate the appearance and voice of other people. It is better than the transformation technique in ninjutsu. Of course, the most frightening thing about Pufu is his extremely high intelligence and his calmness that can always distinguish the primary from the secondary. Because of his huge advantage in spirit and intelligence, Pufu is much worse than Yuppie in brute force. He may be slightly inferior to Neferpitu, but he is definitely not much worse. Whether it is attack, defense, vitality, or telekinesis, he is an absolute A-level master. You should know that the telekinesis that scared the Master Nob so much that he could not participate in the battle actually came from Pufu. In terms of data, let alone hunters like Molao, even President Netero who fought against the Ant King is not as good as Arlya Pufu. This is the natural advantage of the Chimera Ant. If he runs to the battlefield between Netero and the Ant King, the situation will be over. The one-on-one match that Netero wants will also be ruined. In the original work, no one in the expedition team could really stop Pufu. MaleProtagonist was deceived after only struggling with him for a few minutes. He also lost his handy weapon. It was also because of Pufu's assist that MaleProtagonist and his disciples could not stop Yuppie. The only ones who could stop him temporarily were top-level masters like Zeno and Silva. Silva Zaldik has a strong enough body and offensive and defensive capabilities to withstand Pufu's attacks and cause damage to him. Zeno Zaldik is very experienced, and Pufu's plan is not easy to succeed in front of Zeno. If Pufu wants to get rid of the entanglement of these two, he must use the ability of the Fly King. This happens to be restrained by Zeno. If the clone is too small, it can't resist the large-scale attack capabilities of the Dragon Head Zawa and the Dragon Star group. Fortunately, Pufu has seen these two big moves of Zeno, so he dare not easily clone. But he has to choose to fight and try to kill or repel these two powerful enemies first. As one of the three guards, if he goes all out, Zeno and Silva alone can't hold out for too long. The gap in hard power is still too big. But they are not fighting alone, Xiaoming provides strong assistance. Before this decisive battle began, Xiaoming has been thinking about how to play a role. It should be no problem for his legion to hold back the Chimera ants. But Xiaoming needs the ability to stir up trouble in high-level battles. In the case of not daring to use moon reading on the 3A level guards, the best way is undoubtedly to open Susanoo to fight the enemy head-on. With Zhang Zhou cooperating on the side, the danger may not be great. But this plan was firmly rejected by Zhang Zhou. Who knows if Yuppie and others have any special tricks? What if they have that kind of super trick that can directly break Susanoo, then it's over. With Xiaoming's combat experience and accomplishment, it is very likely that he can't avoid it. He will be dealt with by others in one move. Zhang Zhou believes that at least one of them will have such a decisive trick. Maybe all three of them, so he firmly refused to let Xiaoming go to the frontal battlefield. Even if he would not die in the reincarnation space. Even if he lost this war, it would only be a problem for the hunter world, and Xiaoming did not need to risk his life. Just try your best, if you can't play anymore, we can just change the world. Not to mention the hunter world, even if Pangu Star suddenly suffered a catastrophic disaster. After Xiaoming has done his best, he will not fill it with his life. We can live in outer space, or in the reincarnation space. Just take as many humans as possible to escape from Pangu Star. Xiaoming does not have such excellent qualities. So in this battle, Xiaoming can only and must play auxiliary, and he must play auxiliary from a distance. Xiaoming's insect general records Zhang Zhou's ultra-long-range skill, shooting moon arrow. The power of this move is enough to cause trouble to the three guards. Again, Xiaoming's combat quality is completely a drag. In the melee, Xiaoming could not grasp the battle situation as accurately as Zhang Zhou and shoot the arrow to the most critical position. To be honest, in that chaotic battle, he should be thankful that he did not shoot his own people. The strength of the Shadow Clone is not enough to participate in this level of battle. Even if the 7 stars Shadow Clone is sent to use Susanoo to interfere, the role it can play is actually limited. The strength of the 7 stars Shadow Clone is not strong enough, and the Susanoo summoned is only of general B-level combat power. Some people will say, isn't this good? The hunters who fought against the 3 guards were only B-level at best. But in fact, that was different. Xiaoming suffered because of his lack of combat experience. Those hunters relied entirely on their rich combat experience to deal with the A-level guards. The inexperienced Xiaoming couldn't deal with them at all. When the battle started, Neferpitou killed a Susanoo in less than half a minute. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 739. The 7 Yao Shadow clone is already Xiao Ming's strongest cannon fodder. If even they are not competent for this decisive battle, what should Xiao Ming do? Xiao Ming actually planned the countermeasures before. This is also thanks to the fact that the Insect King ate the Chimera Ant Queen and obtained a lot of excellent energy and genes, which allowed Zhang Zhong to resurrect in advance. Xiao Ming has only a vague understanding of combat, and can only fight some favorable battles and rely on the strong to bully the weak. It is a bit difficult to deal with the 3 guards. Fortunately, Zhang Zhong is a real 7th level A-level master. And as the first personal guard among the insect humans, his intelligence and force are relatively average. At the beginning, Xiao Ming raised insect humans on a large scale in the world of Legend of Sword and Fairy 1 plus Mars Alien. In 10 years, Xiao Ming gave birth to a total of about 20,000 insect humans. Among them, there are 3 A-level personal guards. Zhang Liang, number 10,000, has already appeared. His ability is the Insect General Star Record that can record the telepathy of other insect humans. He transferred this General Star Record to the Insect King Lu Xiaoming. He therefore topped the list of the General Star Record and was named Tiankui Star. The other one was Zhang Zhong, number 100, who had always followed Xiaoming. He got the position of Tianying Star and his ability on the list was Moon Shooting Arrow. The number 1000 personal guard who had never appeared was a martial type, and was as tough as Yuppie, and was particularly resistant to attacks. But the mind ability he cultivated was to replace the Insect King when he was injured. This ability is very lovely, but it cannot be included in the General Star Record. Can Xiaoming also replace himself when he is injured? What's the use? Answer: of course it is useful. Xiaoming's brain was not open at that time, and his thinking was not turned around. In fact, this ability would be quite useful if he learned it. Because Xiaoming has 3 bodies. But at that time, there were only 2 bodies. The Insect King's body strength is obviously higher than the other 2 bodies. It can be used to replace the other 2 bodies when they are injured. This ability is useless for others to learn, but Xiaoming should actually learn it. It's a pity that he missed it. Especially now, the body of the Insect King is obviously going to evolve again, and this ability has become more appropriate. Alas, I can only wipe my tears silently and regret it. If you miss it, you miss it, and there is no place to buy regret medicine. Let's focus on the problem at hand. After Zhang Zhong helped Xiaoming analyze his various abilities, there are many potentials, but none of them can be achieved quickly. After several experiments, he finally helped Xiaoming find a more suitable fighting method. Do you still remember the 10,000 swords Ju that Xiaoming learned from Li Xiaoyao in the fairy sword world? This move is to use mental power and spiritual power to control countless flying swords to fly in the air. You can launch intensive and powerful attacks. Xiaoming has used it in the Naruto world. First, use alchemy to make a large number of flying swords, and then use the 10,000 swords Ju to control and attack Kakuzu. The effect is very good. However, Pufu's physical fitness is much better than Kakuzu. The racial difference is there. Although they are all A-level masters, Kakuzu is only a barely qualified A-level, while the 3 guards are the best among the A-level. Obviously, they are not on the same level. Such a 10,000 swords technique can hurt Xiaodu, but it is powerless against Xiaoya Pufu. Unless Pufu abolishes his martial arts and splits his body into countless weak clones, it will be useful. Don't count on this possibility. Zhang Zhong pointed out that this is not a problem with the 10,000 swords technique, but a problem with the flying sword. That kind of temporary flying sword is not only not strong enough, but also can carry relatively low spiritual power. If it can be replaced by the flying sword of the immortals, even a relatively low-level flying sword can cause damage to Pufu. Unfortunately, the flying swords that Xiaoming has are the defective ones that were first brought out from the world of A Chinese Ghost Story 1. It is stronger than ordinary mortal weapons, but it cannot achieve the expected power. Besides, the number of defective products is also limited. Once they are used to perform the 10,000 swords technique, they will soon be lost due to bumps and collisions. Therefore, Xiaoming has always been reluctant to give them up. Yan Qixia in a Chinese ghost story actually has many flying swords, but they were all destroyed in the fierce battle with the grandmother. What a waste! Until their substitutes appeared, Zanpakuto. The 10,000 swords technique is an advanced move of sword control. Although it has the word sword, it can not only control swords, but also other weapons. Swords are more suitable substitutes. Even if the form of the Zanpakuto is very special, it can also be controlled by the 10,000 swords technique. In fact, since the Zanpakuto is Xiaoming's sole weapon, it is actually more handy to control. As the exclusive weapon of the god of death, the shallow attack of the Zanpakuto, although it has not yet been released, its power after being blessed by the 10,000 swords technique is enough to deal with the current situation. However, Xiaoming only made one Zanpakuto for himself before, which is the Cloud 6 styles. If separated, it can be regarded as 6 weapons. This doesn't seem to be enough. What should I do if it's not enough? Make a few more. Xiaoming has accumulated several Zanpakuto that have not yet recognized the master. What's frustrating is that this Zanpakuto not only does not respond to the 10,000 swords technique, but also does not respond to the most basic sword control technique. Xiaoming estimates that this may be the reason why it has not recognized the master and has not been activated. This sword is temporarily dormant. At this time, Zhang Zhong suggested that Xiaoming's subordinates should give it a try. First, Zhang Zhong got a shallow hit of a Zanpakuto. Unfortunately, Xiaoming couldn't control other people's soul weapons at all. Even if Zhang Zhong is Xiaoming's child, it won't work. Then Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu can forget about it for now. We can only make a fuss about the 2 series of mind beasts and clones. So everyone lined up to try it out. Among them, the uniform series mind beasts without souls, the king's guards, etc. cannot accept Zanpakuto. Maomoer and Xiaoshenan, who have souls, are now in Huiguo Mountain. Zhanghong, the transformer mind beast, and those alien King Kong mind beasts, can't get Zanpakuto either. Maybe it's because the compatibility is not suitable? After all, in order to specialize, they have not opened the spiritual practice. After Xiaoming's mind beast army failed, Xiaoming also lost his spirit. He tried his best and asked the 7 shadow clone to come and try. It actually succeeded, and the 7 shadow clone can accept Zanpakuto. Wow! It is worthy of Xiaoming's high-end clone made by using 7 kinds of chakra nature changes. This authority is awesome. They are actually branches of Xiaoming's soul, so their shallow strikes are also in the form of Cloud 6 styles. Xiaoming was overjoyed and started working quickly to create Zanpakuto for all 57 shadow clone. It really consumed a lot of spiritual power and source energy. Each sword can be divided into 6, which is more than 300 Zanpakuto. The number is a bit tight, but the power is only a little less than Xiaoming's original Zanpakuto, which is enough. And most importantly, even if the 7 shadow clone is destroyed, the Zanpakuto will not disappear, but will return to Xiaoming's soul, waiting for the next 7 shadow clone to appear. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 740. What Xiao Yapufu is about to encounter is a strange scene of thousands of Zanpakuto flying together. Haha, I'm bragging. In fact, there are only about 300 pieces at most. Currently, they are still in a combined state, only about 50 pieces. At the beginning of the decisive battle, Puff was beaten too far by President Netero. In addition to being visible on Xiaoming's scanned map, there are no traces in Xiaoming's circle. After Puff was stopped, he immediately returned to the palace quickly. Not even halfway through the flight, I felt that the position of the Ant King had changed. It was Nitro who was sent away by Cienyo with a dragon head painting. How cunning and cunning Genio is. I had noticed the direction where Pufa was slapped away, so when I sent King Ant and Nitro to the decisive battle, I chose a direction with an angle of 150 degrees. If Pufa wanted to rush there, he would definitely have to walk a long way. This old man is very evil. He originally wanted to send him to the 180-degree opposite direction. But that would require passing through the battlefields of fierce fighting in the capital. The Ant King is passing over the battlefield, so there's no guarantee he won't do something. This is to be avoided. So Genio chose a big angle. That is to say, avoid the battlefield and stay away from Pufu. Of course, this little idea cannot be hidden from the Ant King, but it is probably just what he wants. In fact, the Ant King doesn't like Pufu interrupting his battle. It is precisely because of this that Pufu needs to walk a long diagonal route to get to the battlefield of the Ant King. This also facilitates our interception of him. Although Genio's circle is already quite powerful among humans, it is still far from enough in this situation, and I can't find Pufu's direction. Fortunately, Xiaoming's scanning map range was wide enough, so Genio and Zibo both stepped on Xiaoming's flying sword to intercept it. Flying around them were dozens of extremely fast flying swords, which amazed the two masters. In fact, they were followed by 10 smith-looking Qi Yang shadow clones, but the speed of the clones was much slower than the flying sword. Seriously, I need to run for a while. The farthest point of Pufu, the location of the palace and the location of the Ant King's decisive battle are approximately an isosceles triangle with the palace as the vertex and an included angle of 150 degrees. Puff's path is the longest side of the isosceles triangle. What a poor kid. This is a math problem for elementary school students. The best place to intercept Pufu, and also the shortest route, is of course starting from the palace and taking the middle vertical line. At such a distance, not to mention that Genio, Ziba, and the Fijian group had arrived early. Even when Qi Yao Shadow's clone arrived, Pufu still had to wait for a while. Genio is getting older and has already issued 2 Dragon Head plays and 1 Dragon Star group. He's not in good shape. In order to win, Smith's clone, wearing a butler's uniform, took out 2 spiritual energy fruits from the light dome and gave them to Genio. The old man felt the extraordinary fruit as soon as he took it into his hands. Immediately, he blew his beard and glared, turning his face in a pretentious manner. "Boy from the Zhang family, you are so uninteresting. We have been dealing with each other for more than a year. You have never taken out such a good thing. Now that the old man has risked his life and death for you, you are willing to take it out. It's so shameless. What a shame. I'm coming here, Grandpa wants to talk to you." Despite his bad attitude, his tone was full of joking, and he was actually joking. It's a different kind of malicious showmanship. Of course, if he could earn some benefits by relying on his status as an old man, he wouldn't refuse. The shadow clone immediately smiled and said, "You always make fun of me. These 2 fruits have just matured not long ago. They are not easy to get, so don't pick on this. The relationship between Xiaoming and the BD Hakka family is just an employment relationship. It's impossible to be honest." Since he was given steps, Genio walked down the steps. "Humph, I thought your boy wouldn't be so heartless. I don't care, I have to give my son another one no matter what." Who is Genio? Of course he would not believe that Xiaoming really has these 2 fruits. But in his opinion, this thing is 100 times more valuable than gold. Even if Xiaoming still has it, the number should not be too much. Just ask for 1 more. If he could see Huang Xiaoming in the Guangming Dome, he would be eating and watching a show with a bunch of aura fruits beside him. It would probably make the old man mad to death. Huang Xiaoming used to practice the skills of the gods in Guangmingding. At this critical moment, of course, we have paused. He is the final reserve team for this battle. After eating the aura fruit, Xianyo and Ziba not only recovered to full health, but even temporarily exceeded their upper limit of telekinesis. It is a feeling of being very full of energy. Just in time for Al Yapfu, who had just flown over, to hit the iron plate. When Puff is flying at high speed, he is less able to detect the surroundings. His UN is not as useful as Catwoman's, and when moving at high speed, UN can't keep up. I completely didn't notice that the huge boulder in front of me was just a fake. It was made by Xiaoming's clone using alchemy. In fact, it was really the rock that did not arouse Pufu's alarm. The inside of the rock is hollow, and two masters, Jinyo and Shiba, are hiding here, and they are already full of potential. Suddenly, the rock automatically opened the skylight, and Ziba jumped out of it. He rubbed a huge energy ball in each hand and smashed it onto Pufu, who had just flown here. Pufu was too fast and was not mentally prepared, so he was hit hard. Immediately fell from the sky. Immediately afterwards, the two dragon-shaped mind beasts released by Jinyo also bit Pufu's body from the front and backsides. The difference between the attack and Shiba's attack was less than 0.1 seconds. 0.3 seconds later, hundreds of Zanpakuto quickly washed over Pufu's body like high-pressure water dragons, excluding the middle part that was not bitten by the dragon-shaped mind beast. Pufu was almost cut in half. But at this time, Pufu had already reacted and quickly twisted his body to avoid most of the flying swords. A large part of his body was cut off by the Zanpakuto at the waist, and his wings were also pierced with holes and leaked everywhere. This kind of injury would have cost half of his life if it happened to a human or an animal. But for Pufu, it only cost him some energy. Pufu quickly used the ability of Fly King to decompose his body into countless mini Pufus the size of bees. At this time, the flying sword group had just left and had no time to return. The two dragon-shaped mind beasts spit into nothing, and Zeno quickly changed his moves, controlling the two dragons to start sweeping the mini Pufu. Of course, Pufu couldn't lose energy and body cells like this. About 0.3 seconds after the decomposition, he immediately reassembled in another direction. Not only was there no scar on his waist, but his wings were also fully recovered. Fighting against Chimera ants is really difficult. Pufu kicked Silva's two arms that were lined up for defense, sending him flying. Then he punched left and right, sending two dragon-shaped beasts flying with two punches. Finally able to take a breath, Pufu looked around.